Hi, this is Rob Grady from PJ Grady Inc., pjgrady.com. What I'm going to show is an install of the Mattaligner product that we sell. The reason why we call it that is it was initially designed by a customer of ours. The idea came from him, and he didn't want to produce them, but he wanted them to be made. So he gave me the go-ahead to work with it, and it needed a few minor tweaks and improvements to make it fit better. And then I went ahead and added a backrest to it to add another function, which is to keep your arm off the window switches, because there's a tendency to rest your arm on the console when you're driving, and then invariably you wind up hitting the window switches, and then it can damage the window regulators. So it's designed to do three things, two other things besides that. The reproduction window switches are taller than the original, so they tend to lift up out of position. So we made the plate, the base, a little bit thicker than the prototype, and that solved the problem of the switches being out of position. And then the consoles themselves have a tendency over the years to get a little bit loose with the switches. The switches kind of bed in, and they start to move around. Basically, as you see with this car, this is as it was when we were going to do the install. So the whole idea is to even these switches out and also make it so that you don't accidentally engage them when you're driving. So I guess I will now go ahead and proceed with the install, and here we go. So first you remove all the switches. Sometimes it's easier to take out the ashtray to gain access. Push from behind, that one came right out. In fact, that one's disconnected. And sometimes there's different aftermarket switches, and sometimes they can be very difficult to remove, such as this one. This is the newest of the aftermarket switches, and as you can see, if I compare it to an original one, nope, these are both the aftermarket switch, so I can't show you that on this. But if you look compared to the original defroster switch, you can see it's a little bit taller there, and one of the functions of the Mattaligner is to make that fit. Okay, so once you get the switches out, you'll usually find that there's some dirt and debris that is built up in the mounting area over the years. So I like to clean that up a little bit, and you can use soap and water or any kind of cleaner that you have on hand, and you just wipe out the area and get the dirt and debris off. The Mattaligner comes in two different finishes. One is a brushed stainless. The other one is a stainless with the black ox finish. It's a little more subtle, although neither one of them show very much once they're installed, so it's not really a big decision to decide between the two. There's two different pad choices, and it doesn't really matter what interior color you have, gray or black. Although they come with gray or black pads, some people prefer a different combination, or you can mix, you can change it if you decide you like one over the other, or if one gets damaged you can swap out to the other one. So you have a choice of two with either unit. When you're going to install it, once the switches are out and you've cleaned up the mounting area, then you fit the one that you're going to go with. In this case, we're going to use the stainless one with the gray backer. It matches obviously better with the gray finish, but again, some people prefer the black to go with the switches better. So then you install that, and then you take two switches and put it on one side or the other. I'm going to start on the passenger side, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to drill the hole there first, but this is probably the most important point, is that you want to line it up so that when your holes are drilled, the switches still fit in correctly. So you take one of the dummy switches, put it in the original spot. You take one of the window switches, you put that in, and then you're going to drill the hole that's still exposed, because obviously the hole is covered on this side. So this is doing the alignment for you. So it's secured with two countersunk screws. They are self-tapping. They're 3/32. The bit comes, the kit comes with a drill bit of the correct size to mount it, so that you don't inadvertently drill it to a larger size. And here we go with the drill. Okay. All right, so then you take your first screw. As I said, it's a self-tapper, so you just give it a little bit of pressure, install it. It's a very small screw, so be careful that once you snug it down that you don't press too hard or push too hard and strip it out. But the metal's fairly strong, so you don't have to be too delicate with it. So, okay, you got the first one installed. Then you push your switches out. Okay, with the newer style switches, they grab pretty tight, so sometimes it's better to then remove the screw and take the unit out and push them through, in which case I'm going to do that here. You usually don't have to do that with the original switches. They have a shallower grab point. Now you repeat and do the other side, basically. Okay, so you just repeat the process with the other side. Let's see if this will pop out, or we might have to remove it again. Yep, you have to remove it again. Okay, so now the unit's installed. It's just a matter of pushing the wire connectors up through. Okay. Installing the dummy switches. One thing that you should be aware of on the defroster switch, when you do remove it, it's a good idea to have it in the on position, because if accidentally the cover pops off, they tend to fall apart and then you have to reassemble it. There's a little trick to that, which we're not going to get into today. So put it in the on position, you're less likely to have a problem when you're installing or removing it. Okay, so got that. Okay, that's it. You just make sure all the switches are seated completely. Okay, and as you can see, it makes quite a bit of difference in the way the switches look when they're installed in the car. They're nice and lined up. And then the pad is designed to keep your arm off the switches when you're driving the car. And that's it. And you're good to go.